Welcome, strangers, to Small Talkumentary on MMDTM Radio, a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and small talk about them.
All right, everyone, thanks. Have a good night.
Yep,
Yeah.
This has been
We're done now.
MMDTM Radio's Small Talkumentary.
It was really, really tiny documentary tonight.
Tiny little documentary.
Itty bitty one.
But really, honestly, welcome back, everybody, to Small Talkumentary by My Mama Done Told Me. This is a bit of a spin-off show, or combination of podcasts, you might say. My Mama Done Told Me and another Welcome Stranger Media podcast called Talkumentary. Talkumentary was a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about them. This is Small Talkumentary, which is basically the same thing, but a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking so fast. Small Talkumentary will be part of our recurring rotation, as you already know, because this is what, number two? In our little variety series. Yeah, variety shows. It'll be about 30 minutes or so. Seeing, Mom said it might be a little bit quicker than that today.
Gotta be quicker than that.
But if you haven't checked out Talkumentary, go check us out. The whole first season is available now. Find link to it in our show notes. Anyway, welcome everybody
to the Wild Wild West.
I am your host, Jeff Kolaski. I'm here with my sister Lauren.
That's me. Hey.
And our mama Kathy.
Hey.
And we brought a friend of
special
ours.
guest.
Hey,
Special
everybody.
guest.
I'm Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick.
The KC fan.
Yep.
That's
Dr.
right.
Nick is here with us. He's bringing a lot of knowledge about this documentary that we watched for today. A lot
one
of
would say
research.
an expert.
He is what you
Yes.
would consider an expert in all things figure skating
Yes.
and Harley and
Correct.
Katya and everything that
documentaries.
director has put out other than this. So we figured it would be a good one for him to be
Yeah,
on.
this is right
Yes.
up your alley.
Especially choreography.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know a lot about
Choreography.
choreography.
That's worse than
Choreography.
Chronologically.
Chronological.
Chronological. All right, let's get a few things out of the way. Go rate and review our podcast.
Do it.
Your favorite streaming services.
Right
Let
now.
us know what you think. If you want to connect with our MMDTM family, you can find us, our social medias. You can find those links to those where, Mom?
The show notes.
Show notes.
Or you can shoot us an email at
My Mama Done Told Me podcast
at
at gmail.com.
This week, some of us watched a 90-minute documentary from 2022 called Harley and Katya. Here is the trailer.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you at what point I went wrong. I don't want to blame anyone. I guess a lot of people were like, how could you not see any of this?
I skate a lot.
I think it's the dream of every young athlete, no matter what the sport. Mummy, Daddy, I'm going to go to the Olympics one day.
Реально ты понимаешь, что для хорошего результата сейчас лучше всего, когда ребенок проходит из неблагополучной семьи.
I didn't speak any Russian. She didn't speak any English. And they kind of just put us together and said, you two are partners.
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people.
We have been giving visas to athletes from foreign countries for a considerable amount of time, and she got the same red carpet treatment.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. Don't go home until it's perfect.
If someone has a whip to me constantly, then it's like, it pushes me more and more and more and more and more. And, if they tell me I can't do it, then I'm like, watch me, I'll prove you wrong.
They're on a golden wave.
First in the free program.
Did we just win? It's the best what we could do today, and we're happy with it.
Best. It's not best what we can do today. We can do better.
You don't get funny unless you're on track to achieve something.
I look back at it now in hindsight and go, alarm bell, alarm bell, alarm bell. Why wasn't it going off then?
Do you feel like something of a role model to inspire other Indigenous kids that are coming through that might take up the sport?
And then I had found out from somebody that she'd been staying with that some alcohol had been going missing.
I think that's when it started going south. I opened the drink bottle and I could smell wine.
We were right on deadline, and I said, listen, I really think this is an important story. We need to get something in tomorrow's paper.
At the end of the day, they can all go fuck themselves because no one was there, so no one really knows the full story besides me and Katya.
There it went. Okay. So
fell asleep through that trailer.
Full disclosure, everybody, I did not watch this. This is the first time in documentary history that I did not watch the documentary before doing the show.
We let him off the hook.
Yeah.
Oh, did you let me?
Well, I do recall getting a little text saying
I didn't feel good and I didn't want to watch it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then y'all are like, it's boring. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm
I don't
sure
know if
not
Mom
gonna
said
watch.
that, but I sure did.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that to you.
No, she
I
did.
did.
Yeah. I was like,
but here, I did find a little something. I'm going to go ahead and give a little,
yeah, that'd be good.
little description.
Teaser? Oh,
Harley
okay.
and Katya is, and you guys, this
Correct
is
you?
straight from the internet.
Okay.
Okay, so you tell me
I'll tell
where
you.
I'm wrong.
Okay.
Harley
You
and
probably will
Katya
be.
is an emotional documentary that tells the story of Harley Windsor, the first Indigenous Australian Winter Olympian, and his figure skating partner, Ekaterina Katya Alexandrovskaya.
Yeah.
The pair achieved international recognition by winning gold at the 2017 Junior World Championships. Someone's filing away their taxes.
I'm actually wanting to make a couple little notes as you read.
All right. So they made history with their rise in figure skating. Nick, your favorite thing to
Sport.
watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, the documentary also covers the deep personal struggles Katya faced leading up to her tragic death by suicide in 2020. Just 5 months after retiring from the sport. The film is a deeply personal and heartbreaking look into the immense pressures faced by young athletes, focusing on themes of mental health, isolation, and the emotional toll of competition.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by, does that sound like a pretty decent recap of it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Selena Miles. Nick, also very familiar with her work.
Mhm.
Distributed and streamed on Netflix. All that stuff will be in the show notes.
Show notes.
Let's get into it. Quick
Okay.
little warning, Nick, if you haven't seen this,
I have not.
Here's your spoiler alert.
and you want to see it, go out and
Leave
watch
the
it.
room.
And then come back. We'll
Yeah.
be right here.
Okay.
But
all right. I might have to. I mean, Catwoman
Don't do
directed it, so that's pretty cool.
Don't do
Selena
it.
Kyle.
Right.
Yeah. No.
This
that's
isn't
not
Selena Kyle.
No, not
Oh.
Selena Kyle.
Yeah, this
Different
is
Selena.
Selena.
Not Selena
Miles.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
Selena, the fun Selenas.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyways.
Also, another quick warning. Even though I didn't watch the episode, I know we do have to talk about the topic of suicide for this episode. So consider that when deciding how and when to listen to this episode.
Or
Okay.
watch the movie.
Or to watch the movie. Yeah. Let's talk about why we chose to watch Harley and Katya. Again, honesty, I haven't seen it. Nick, what'd you think of this one?
It was awesome.
Okay, you didn't watch it either.
Uh-huh.
Mom, why did you choose this for our show this week? You were the
honestly,
dealer.
it was the one that you asked me to choose one, and I
did.
looked through the documentaries. Usually, I stay on Netflix just because I'm familiar.
Yeah,
with
it's easier.
I have
Yeah.
it; it's right there, and they're all about murder. And I just thought wanted something a little different.
Yep,
something that was
heartwarming.
Yeah, heartwarming. And that's what I thought this was.
Mm-hmm. Lauren's silently dying inside.
So when you know how when you first click on it and it'll gives you just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I watched that and it looked like it was going to be good. And I started watching it by myself and I watched about the first minute.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, this will be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I shut it off and picked it.
Yep.
And that's as far as I went with it. And that's why I picked it.
Had anyone in the room heard of this, seen this, heard of Katya and
I
Harley?
actually remember her name. I
Okay.
remember her name, that Ekaterina, whatever, and some things being, on the news or whatever about them. But I don't remember the story at all.
Nick, ever heard of this?
No, I have not.
Okay, cool.
Actually.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for your input.
All right. Lauren.
Yeah.
What were your predictions going into this one?
I did not know what this was about. I just thought it was a documentary about a duo, a figure skating duo.
Mm-hmm.
However, it didn't take long before the music got kind of ominous and you knew there was an impending doom the entire movie.
Right.
You could tell something. I mean, they weren't talking to Katya.
Mm-hmm. Were they talking to Harley throughout it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Katya was not there. And so you knew that probably something was going to happen to her. But I kind of thought, I didn't know that the suicide thing was a thing, and neither did Mom. And I thought maybe she was going to, have a brain aneurysm from being like dropped on her head too many times or something like that. Because, those coaches are really balls to the wall. Like they are
ruthless, yeah.
Yeah. And they were showing her falling and all of that stuff. And I think the only thing about your little recap of it that I don't really agree with is when they said that just 5 months after she retired, she didn't retire. She was like forced to not do it anymore. Like she just couldn't do it anymore because of her health and that kind of thing. Right. So yeah, she retired, but it wasn't like I've been doing this for so long, I don't want to do it anymore. It was you literally can't do this anymore or you will die.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the only thing she knew.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Nick, do you feel like figure skating, should they have to wear helmets?
Oh, man.
I'm probably not the person to ask on this.
Because you wish that football players still wore the leather helmets?
Yeah.
No, I know the one thing I do know about figure skating, it's all about presentation and being able to see faces and hair are actually, I believe, important to it. That being said, safety is always going to be the number one thing. So,
especially in competition,
right?
Yeah, I would say the answer is yes. They should have to wear helmets.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if helmets would even do any good, honestly.
Well, not maybe in her case. So, here's another some more quick details. Film starts by introducing it, and again, didn't watch this, so I'm not saying this from experience. So if you guys hear something,
wrong.
Just go wrong.
wrong.
The film starts by introducing us to Harley Windsor and Katya Alexandrovskaya. Their journey as they teamed up in 2016 in their meteoric rise in the figure skating world. Katya, originally from Russia, moved to Australia at the age of 16 to skate with Harley. Together, they quickly became an international sensation that none of us in this room remember.
They were really good, though.
Okay.
They were very good.
I mean, it doesn't mean that they weren't, that I don't remember them because...
No, I'm just saying, I don't remember them at all, but when we were watching the footage and stuff, there's a lot of footage of them competing together, and it was, they were really good.
He wasn't like the Australian break dancer. He was actually...
Okay. Not at all.
What was her name?
I don't know.
Reagan.
Yeah, that was it.
Winning gold at the Junior World Championships and competing in 2018 Winter Olympics. However, behind the scenes, Katya struggled with loneliness, mental health issues, and the pressures of being away from her home country. In early 2020, after a diagnosis of epilepsy, Katya retired from the sport, a decision that led to a significant decline in her mental health, and tragically, she died by suicide in July of the same year. Throughout the documentary, viewers get an intimate look at the bond between Katya and Harley, their triumphs and their challenges. Disagree?
Yeah,
very much so.
Okay,
they didn't have a relationship.
They didn't really have a relationship because she couldn't even speak English.
Okay.
And they never, the city or the country of Australia were very enamored with Harley because he was an indigenous person that had never been in the skating world before. And so he was a hero.
He was a
national hero.
Yeah. Okay.
And people would just, almost like stampede to get his autograph and to see him when they went places. But she was sort of always off on the side and never paid any attention to because she was Russian. She came to that country forced to be, when she took her
citizenship thing, whatever.
speech thing. She had absolutely no idea what she was saying.
She was just repeating what
she was
the
just
lady
repeating
said.
what they said. You know, I will love this country, and you know all the stuff that you would say. And they never, the country never supplied her with a translator.
Yeah, so they've got like news
they thought
people
she was stupid,
asking her questions, and she's like, "Can you say it again? Like, I have no idea what you're
please
saying."
Say slowly, and then they would go on to Harley and just leave her standing there.
Yeah,
and she was very lonely. There is no doubt about it.
So what this little recap that I found online, throughout the documentary, viewers get an intimate look at the bond between Katya and Harley.
there wasn't one. It didn't seem like
the
anyway.
bond was we skate together.
Right.
They skated together. That was
and
it.
yeah, they spent a lot of time together for sure, and they probably did have a little bit of a bond. But we didn't get a look at the bond between them really, because there wasn't any. All it was them skating together. It wasn't like they were out, you know, eating at restaurants and having fun and laughing and stuff and being
consoling
friends.
her for being lonely or anything like that. It was nothing.
Okay, how about this last line in this? It also highlights how mental health struggles can go unseen, even in the lives of elite athletes who appear to have everything going for them.
Well, I don't think she appeared to have everything.
It wasn't
together.
unseen.
I think it was seen and it was ignored.
Yeah.
Okay.
For her, I honestly think that.
So, what was this documentary about? Mental health?
No.
Figure skating?
I don't really know what to tell you.
Okay.
It was a depressing look into the life of a poor little girl who knew nothing but figure skating, and it was ripped away from her. And then when nobody went to her aid after that, she jumped out of a window and fell to her death, and that's it. Like it was
very sad.
I feel like, you know, she just was kind of tossed aside.
Yeah. And she was tossed aside from the moment she got there. All she was a prop for Harley.
It was like his.
So how did, not to jump too far ahead, but how did her death affect Harley?
He was sad. But they were already split up at that point. And he was still skating, you know, solo, I think.
I think so.
Or whatever.
So, but you said that they talked to him throughout the...
They did.
So what kind of things was he saying?
Just like how she was acting, what was, you know, they were asking him questions about like the media. And
he kind of acted like he was concerned for her, but he didn't know what to do. And there was nobody. He was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a kid himself.
How old were they? Do you remember?
They were in high school.
Yeah.
Well, at first they were younger than that.
Yeah, they were younger, but I think she was early 20s, late teens.
I can look it up.
So it was her diagnosis with epilepsy that took her out of the skating world, correct?
Yes, and there was some alcohol abuse as well.
On her part?
On her part.
Okay.
And it was affecting her.
With the medication that she was taking too. So her kidney or her liver or whatever was...
Yeah.
Not kidney.
She was
her
not
liver
well, and she was not performing well because of that, because of the probably medication plus alcohol, and she was just so unhappy.
So
I don't think that Harley ever acted like he was really all that concerned about her.
Nick, you're hearing all this for the first time, just like I am.
Yeah.
Are you as completely confused about what this documentary, the point or the of what this documentary was? Like, what are you taking from this?
It does feel, from what you're telling me versus what the synopsis is, it's like we have this footage. We're going to go ahead and splice it together and let the viewer decide what they want to take from it, as opposed to necessarily having a very driven vision.
Does that sound fair?
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds fair.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't about mental health.
No.
To me, it wasn't about, I mean, it was about figure skating, but it was more about...
It was more about him being raised into this hero-ship. To me, it was about how important they thought Harley was to the country of Australia, and she got completely ignored. But at the same time, she was ripped from her family into another country.
How did she get there? When you say ripped from her family, what does that look like in this documentary?
So there was a coach there was a couple coaches from Russia that were in Australia coaching figure skating, And when they couldn't find anybody for Harley that was good enough to be with him because he was amazing,
really super good,
they brought Katya over from Russia.
And she was from a very poor family. So they saw this as their way to go get, fame and fortune.
So there's a
and
lot
all
of pressure
that
on her in that way too.
By letting her go there and become a citizen so that she would have this opportunity.
Right.
It wasn't the right opportunity for her.
No.
So I have a question just based on some of the stuff you were talking about before. You kind of alluded to helmets, and did she have some brain injuries from hitting her head on the ice?
Stuff,
she had some concussions, and she had some major falls. When he held her in the air, she was over 9 feet in the air, and she fell several times right on her head. So, and they never said the epilepsy was caused from that, but they said it could have been.
Did they ever by chance say anything about doing any sort of like, an autopsy on her brain? And
no.
The reason I ask is
after she died, it was over.
It was just kind of
a lot of the symptoms you're talking about remind me. You brought up football, and it was actually an apt comparison. You hear a lot about the CTE and former football players from repeated brain injuries, where they just don't act like themselves anymore. And I'm just wondering if that's was a contributing factor.
I mean, it probably was,
or if it was ever brought up in this film.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
But when she died, she was 20. So if that gives you any kind of I think they had been skating together for like 6 years or something.
6 years, something like that.
So, she was really young when she came over.
So you said in the film, sorry, Nick, you said in the film, the movie ended at her death, basically in the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to hear really from Harley about how her death affected him?
A little bit, but it was fairly quick. Like there was a lot of buildup to this, and I didn't have any idea what was going to happen, but there was a lot of the buildup to this. And then once it happened, it was like, yeah, and this is how I found out. And then there was like a couple of little blurbs, like
it was over,
typed up blurbs on there, and then it was over.
I'm going to be honest with you. Just hearing you guys talk about it, to me, it sounds like a very, obviously depressing, but also it's an interesting story because, you've got a transplanted, almost unwilling transplant from a country into a foreign world where she gets ignored and outshined by the spotlight of her partner and then it gets the best of her, right? That in and of itself could make a decent story. Do you feel like this documentary told a good story?
No,
I think it could have been done a lot better.
Oh yeah, definitely
in better taste in it, because I do feel like they focused a lot on Harley, which the focus should have been on Katya. If that's what if that's what this whole thing is surrounding, then they should have been more focused on Katya. But they didn't have any footage of her saying anything or anything because she couldn't speak. And whoever made this, I assume, was coming probably from the Australian side of it. So they don't have like footage of her. I mean, they had some footage of her from Russia and
when she was really little.
When she was little, but yeah.
Right. So
they didn't talk to her parents. They didn't talk to her family at all that I know, that I can remember anyway.
Yeah.
So the thing that I found on the internet that says highlighting mental health, highlighting the struggles of an elite athlete that seems to have everything going for them can go unseen. That wasn't highlighted in this film at all.
She didn't look like she had anything going for her.
No,
she looked depressed when they talked to her.
Right. That wasn't the vibe I got from the film at all.
From the film, but in the world's eyes at the time, like if in 2018 or whatever that was, if we would have turned on the TV and watched Katya and Harley, we probably would have.
The media may have presented them as being all together and her as being all together. I don't know how they presented it, but I know when the media tried to interview her, she was like a deer in the headlights. She had no idea.
Well, she didn't know what they were saying.
She couldn't understand them. And when they
that
couldn't
be so frustrating.
Get anything from her, they'd just go to Harley, and then she'd be standing there,
like, "Sorry, you didn't even give me a chance. I don't know what you're saying."
Yeah, yeah.
What are your standout moments here, Lauren? Start with you. What stood out about this film to you?
Well, I love to watch figure skating. And so a lot of the footage of them like practicing and even competing was really cool. They showed their full last performance. And even though it wasn't very good, they were both kind of off. And she fell. They both fell a few times. And, it was still cool to watch the footage of them. And, when they won junior nationals or whatever that was, the looks on their faces when they realized that they actually won, because they were like thinking that there was other people that needed to go after them. And they were like, wait a minute, there's nobody else. Did we just win?
Right.
And like them being happy together, even though there was that language barrier and all of that, it was kind of cool to see them.
Right. There's a
skyrocket.
There's a certain level of intimacy that has to come between
the
dancing partners.
Yeah.
Well, especially because they're so in sync with everything. Like they're moving at the same pace in the same way. And
right. You do everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of training that goes into, I mean, I'm not a figure skating, but knowing
oh my gosh,
the amount of time and effort and they had to communicate in one way or another.
Right.
Whether that was through their movements and things like that. So they had a bond, whether or not that was shown in this film. If you're going to be a successful skating duo, if you're out there listening going, actually, I hated my partner and we got along just fine. Like, tell me. I'd love to know it. My mama done told me podcast@gmail.com. But I got to imagine that there's a certain level of communication and intimacy, and not in a sexual way or anything like that necessarily, but a closeness that you're going to have with somebody. So that's why I keep asking. I'm so curious about how Harley felt about all this.
Yeah, because
I can't imagine anyone. I mean, I even work with people that I'm not holding within an inch of my body through all day at work, and I would be devastated if I knew they were going through something like this. So to think that there's
think he was just a kid.
Yeah. He just
didn't know what to do. And their coaches were.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
The coaches were the ones that were, navigating and driving everything that they did.
This one coach, this guy was with them. They even said like he stayed in the hotels with them. He drove them to their next gig or whatever. He was constantly with them, and he could speak Russian.
Yeah.
So he was a Russian guy. He could speak English and Russian.
So she had Russian coaches, so she could
had somebody. But he would translate. Like there was never anybody there when she was being interviewed or anything. But like
she had no
day to day, he was the only one that knew her language. And he was a jerk. I mean, you kind of have to be in that, I think, a little bit at least, where it's like discipline and like, nope, get up and do it again. Keep doing it until it's perfect or whatever.
Right.
That's how you, and
that's what he
unfortunately,
would have them do. You're going to stay here and do it till you get it perfect.
How you get better. And that's how you get it, make it to the Olympics and stuff, which is unfortunate. But if you can imagine, the only person in this country that you can actually communicate with is yelling at you 24 hours a day to do better, to do better, to do better. Oh my gosh. Right. It just, that would take such a toll on anybody, let alone a, 18, 19-year-old girl.
Right. Mom's standout moment.
I think kind of what Lauren said about them when they won the nationals. I think the key to that for me was that 5 months earlier, they came in like practically last.
Oh, wow.
And they took that 5 months and they worked 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 until and that's why they were so surprised that they won. It was like, oh my goodness, all that work paid off.
Right.
And, you wanted to be happy for them, but it was hard to be happy for him because even Harley wasn't he wasn't from a rich family either.
Yeah.
And Australia doesn't have funding for for sports like that. So there was no uniforms. There was no, they had to buy their own shoes. They had to do all that stuff. So when they connected with the Russian coaches, then they started getting funding.
And it was like $150,000 for whatever you need for the year or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it got cut down, and then it was like $40,000, and it's like, oh man, how are we ever gonna?
So they're really, I really can't tell you what the whole point of the whole thing was.
Yeah. It was just telling their story, I think.
And then at the very end, when we find out that she jumped out the window,
Did you see that coming?
No.
No. I thought for sure it was going to be some kind of brain aneurysm or something like that.
That's what I thought it was going to be, that she was dropped on her head
or
many
like
times.
liver failure or something like that.
Something medical.
Yeah, when they started talking about the drinking, I thought, okay, maybe.
Yeah, she's going to drink herself to death, or she's going to
get in an accident or something.
Yeah, no, I can't. Ugh.
Nick, what's going through your head right now, man?
So
glad you didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it, but I did do a quick reading. I just Googled them real quick to get an idea who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that came up was an interview with Harley, and he's talking about basically he said there's people on the internet blaming him for her death, and
that's not fair either.
And he thought that when the documentary came out that people would then maybe come around,
change their mind,
not blame it. And he said it even got worse.
Opposite.
So
people can be
I guess
awful.
is that just people being awful?
That's just people being awful. I mean, you have to remember this guy. He was a kid.
Right.
There wasn't anything he could say to the reporters about, you need to get her. I mean, this is live television. What are you going to do? You need to get her a translator.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody just has Russian
it should have been the
translators
coaches that did that, or it should have been the federation.
Yeah,
or
there should have been
over.
somebody that knew to do that. But instead, it's hard when you're a kid and you're surrounded by all these adults and they're saying what a sensation you are, to stand up and say something's not right, or
what about
she
her?
needs, her needs aren't being met or whatever.
Yeah.
And she can't say it. And the only person she can say it to is obviously not taking it seriously, or she's scared to tell him,
right,
or whatever. Because I don't know, I would have been scared of that guy. He
yeah,
was,
I mean, and what are you going to do? I mean, in your
family's
you
counting
can't,
on you to.
The internet's full of trolls who are gonna push blame on everybody, and but they never will put themselves in that position. And
I mean, if anybody should be blamed, I mean, not that I think you should blame anybody, but if anybody should be blamed, the coaches could have done
I think
better.
The coaches, and there's also got to be a board or overseers over the whole skating world.
You would think so, but
that they'd say, hey, when these kids are being brought from other countries, you've got to supply support for them. Yeah, for the language and for just everything.
It is sad to think that she did not have a true advocate. I mean,
very sad.
Kids that age need to be nurtured and protected.
Sure. And then you think about it, and it's like the one thing she was good at, the one thing that she knew that she could go out there and really kill it, she couldn't do it anymore. What is she going to do?
Right.
Well, I might as well just end it, because I don't know anything else. I've been doing this since I was 3. And now I can't do it anymore. I'm only 20. Now what am I going to do?
Family?
Yeah, she did, I think.
But they never came over to Australia.
They couldn't afford it.
I know they couldn't afford. Wow. They didn't have money.
Was it a well-made documentary?
But they paid for Harley's parents or mom to go see him.
To go see him.
But they didn't pay for her mom to go see her or whatever. Yeah,
this is kind of disgusting.
It's really it was
really
depressing.
It was really depressing.
Okay, so was it well made?
I think it was
decent.
It was decent. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't like great cinematography or anything, but it was well done. I mean, it was
a lot of just people sitting in rooms
talking,
interviewing, and then the footage.
Old footage. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys watched this together,
right?
When the credits roll, what are you guys feeling?
Ugh.
I know, yuck. And about 10 minutes before, I almost wanted to turn it off.
Yeah.
Well, and mom was saying,
"Oh,
why is it always suicide?" I didn't mean to pick a show.
I didn't want to pick a
that wasn't
one.
my intention, and I was like, I know, but I mean,
and I felt like I was going to fall asleep in my chair. So it was.
I was really restless throughout the whole thing. It felt very much longer than it should have been. It felt like they focused too much on Harley,
when
and
it doesn't
not
tell a
enough
good
on,
story.
Yeah,
even if the content's there.
Yeah,
it's hard to stay.
Yeah, to stick it out.
Yeah,
it would make me never want my daughter or son to get into figure skating.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the same with like gymnastics and stuff. Like you see all kinds of stuff.
You know for sure that if one of your kids did that, there was going to be they're going to have a support system.
Right.
You hope so. Yeah.
Well, they are as long as I'm alive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to find a way to be
Right.
there and to support. I'm not casting any stones here. You know, like if she got sent to Australia from Russia, like if her parents can't afford it, you plain and simple can't afford it. But anyway,
yeah.
But you can also decide not to send her to Australia.
Sure. Exactly.
I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying.
Okay, should we rate this thing?
Sure.
All right. We've come to the time in our show where we need to rate this documentary with an official small documentary rating. Each crew member, besides Nick and I, score the documentary on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being as bad as not even watching the documentary you were supposed to watch, and 10 being as good as a triple sow cow.
Triple sow cow.
The item that is used for scoring changes each week depending on the documentary that we watched. And this week, we will be using triple axles as our rating item. So let's start with Sister.
Yes.
Lauren, how many triple axles and why?
I gave this one 4 triple axles. I enjoy, there was a good story there. I don't think they did a very good job telling the story. I was bored, but it wasn't boring enough for me to score it lower than a 4. And I felt like it was worth the watch. I don't know if I would really recommend it, but I didn't know the story, so I learned something.
Sure. Okay. Mom, how about you? How many triple axles for Harley and Katya?
I only gave it 3.
Okay.
And
so how many times around is 3 triple axles?
9.
I think it's 3.
No, triple axles.
3, 9, yes.
How many spins?
Math. The math ain't mathin'.
This ain't mathin' for me. All right, for me. Why 3? Sorry to interrupt.
Just because I felt like I wasted my time watching it. I felt like I could have shut it off way before it ended. And
that's sad too, because just hearing you guys talk about it is breaking my heart for Katya,
right?
Especially.
And when some of the descriptions that you gave it were, number 1, it was emotional and something about being heartbreaking. I didn't feel that way through it until the very end when I heard she jumped out the window. Up to that point,
it was impending doom.
It was impending doom. It was confusion. It was like, where's this going?
They didn't really do it justice.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
I think they didn't do the story justice, and I feel sorry for Harley. I'm sad to hear that he's being raked over the coals because he didn't deserve that. But this wasn't a very good documentary, and I would not recommend it to anybody.
Okay. Well, with that being said, after averaging everyone's scores together, the official documentary rating for Harley and Katya is 3.5 triple axles. So how many times around is that?
3.5 times?
Yeah.
10.5.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks. Yeah.
Triple axle. I mean, axles.
Triple axle.
And 10.5 axles.
I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. I just
don't know.
guessed.
I think
Pretty
you're
sure.
right.
10.5 axles.
Yeah. All right. So I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning into this episode of Small Documentary by MMDTM. As I said at the beginning, rate and review our podcast on all the stuff. Follow us on things. Keep an eye out for our next episode on our recurring variety show.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon to Taco Bell, some documentaries on Small Documentary.
Hot tamale.
Hot tamale.
Tortilla.
One documentary at a time. Until next time, Nick, thanks for being here, joining us.
Thanks for hanging out,
Nick. Making me not the only unknowledgeable person in the room.
The only unwatcher.
Nick, quick question. Do you think you're going to watch this documentary?
You know what? I kind of want to now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you didn't build it up, but I don't know.
And maybe we missed something too,
maybe,
but I don't think so.
Well, here's one thing that I've learned throughout my life. So Lauren and I don't see eye to eye on everything when it comes to entertainment, but on most things we do. And if she's like, I was bored, I'm probably going to be bored. So I'm not going to watch it. But Mom, Lauren, thank you guys for watching that.
Our homework.
Yeah, doing your homework. Until next time, this has been My Mama Done Told Me. I've been Jeff.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Mama Cat.
Nick.
Nick.
Thank you all for listening. We hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. We love you, and good night.
Good night.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Nick loves you.
Share Lloyd. Bye.
Share Lloyd.
Jean.
Bye.
Rebecca Jean.
Rebecca Jean.
A little less of that would be great.
You know you love me.
Of course I do. I feel like it comes like somehow even though you go like this, somehow it directs directly into the microphone.
I think if I did it right in the microphone.
Okay, go ahead, Ma.
Are we ready?
Yep.